The lockdown continues and we enter our fourth week of lessons. So grade 10s, buckle up, here we go again. I must say that I'm so incredibly proud of you grade 10s. The majority of you have worked very well and I am so pleased with your progress. This week we're going to stop our reading of Macbeth for a bit and you're going to work on your mini essay writing skills. It's one of the most important questions in paper 2 and you will be writing a mini essay on Macbeth at the end of the year. Should you need to contact me for anything, and that includes other areas other than English, you know that you can get hold of me through the online platforms that we have established. This week you're going to learn how to write a literary essay, and of course we're going to use Macbeth as the basis for that essay. It's going to be a formative task. In other words, this one will not count for the report mark. You'll need your textbook, your notebook, which should have fully detailed notes in it of Acts 1, 2 and 3, blank paper, lined and unlined, that you can use for planning, scrapwork, scribbling on, etc., and pens. And I do advise that you have assorted colors so that you can break up your notes, do your planning in a color-coded way. It hopefully will make your planning of your essay and therefore the writing of it that much easier. By now you're used to the pattern. I give you the entire week's work at the beginning of the week, and it's up to you how you plan to do everything. The first lesson, today's lesson, is the long one. It's where I give you all the technical details, the background information on writing literary essays. So, dare I say it, it's the boring lesson. On Wednesday, you will plan your own essay. Thursday, you'll write the essay using the planning from your previous lesson. And on Friday, you'll revise what you've written, edit it, and then write the neat copy into your Macbeth notebook. Here we go, lesson 1 out of 4 lessons. Today, or by the end of today, you must understand what a literary essay is and how it is different from all the other types of writing that we do in English. The easiest way to start is with what it's not. A literature essay is not a story. You're not retelling me that once upon a time there was this chap called Macbeth who lived in Scotland. We know that. This is an academic essay, so you're not there to entertain your reader with the story of Macbeth. A literature essay is not a summary of the plot. This is one of the biggest mistakes that my students make. They want to prove to me that they know the story of Macbeth or whatever literature work it is. They want to prove to the examiner, the teacher, that they have read the entire book or that they know the entire story. We assume that. You should know the entire story. So what is a literature essay then? In essence, it's a piece of persuasive writing. You give a logically structured argument in which you have analyzed the text and you use that analysis to prove your point of view. The logic is in the way that your paragraphs are structured, and you are by now, I hope, familiar with the P paragraphs. P is the acronym for point, evidence, and explain. You start your paragraph with a point, your statement. You then provide evidence from your text, usually in the form of a quotation, which is embedded into your writing, and then you explain how that piece of evidence, that quote, proves your point. What exactly do we include in a literary essay? Let's have a look. Because you're starting out with this type of essay writing now in grade 10, I would like you to use the 5-paragraph essay structure. The first paragraph is your introduction, where you make a general statement and then you provide a thesis statement. This is obviously determined by the essay question that you are given. Your body consists then of 3 body paragraphs. Each body paragraph will have a topic sentence and supporting details. The 5th and final paragraph is the conclusion, and it's in the conclusion that you restate the thesis statement and possibly some of the general statements of your introduction. It's not a foolproof method, but it certainly is an easy method to ease into this way of writing literary essays. Let's start at the beginning. What makes a good introduction? In your introduction, you would start with introducing the text with something like this. In William Shakespeare's play Macbeth, the lead character is manipulated into committing a crime. You must inform the reader immediately of your position. If you are asked, for example, is Macbeth overly ambitious? You cannot sit on the fence. You should make your point of view very clear from the outset. So you would say or write something like, yes, ambition is the cause of Macbeth's downfall, or no, Macbeth fell victim to outside influences. Please note that when you refer to the title of the play, you must either underline it or put it in inverted commas so as to distinguish the title from the name of the lead character. Now, as you heard in one of the previous slides, a good introduction contains a thesis statement. Now, what is a thesis statement? And more importantly, what's a good thesis statement? Please listen carefully to the teacher who will explain this in a video clip on the next slide.
This is a quick tutorial on how to write thesis statements. So there are a few things you need to know about the thesis statement. It is the most important sentence of your essay. And it is the statement, the assertion, the claim you spend the rest of your essay proving and supporting. So really everything in your essay is there to support your thesis statement. So in effect, it's the metaphorical glue that holds the various parts of your essay together, creates unity and cohesion. And because it's the most important sentence of your essay, you want to make sure that it is really strong writing. So I always suggest that students look at the essay prompt or question and then write their thesis statement and spend some time on it to make sure it is as strong as it possibly can be, because the rest of the essay is really going to support that statement. All of the evidence, all of the analysis is there to prove that that statement is correct. So what's in a thesis statement? When you're writing about a text, a book, a literary piece, a informational text, you want to include the title of the text that you're writing about, the author's full name, and you want to include your main assertion or claim. And for those writers who are younger writers, you're just starting to learn about structured writing, so you're focusing on the 5-paragraph essay, you want to mention your 3 main points in this thesis. And so most 5-paragraph essays, you want to be able to give the reader a sense of what are those 3 body paragraphs going to be about? Because you have your introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. And each of those 3 body paragraphs is going to develop a separate point in relation to your thesis. And so some teachers call this the essay map. You include it in your thesis to give the reader kind of a map to let them know what the parts of your essay are going to be about. So when you're writing a 5-paragraph essay, you want the title of the text, author's first full name, your main assertion, and those 3 main points you plan to develop in your 3 body paragraphs. So that sounds like a lot to include in a single sentence. So I want to give you a couple examples of what that looks like. And the first example thesis statement is taken from an essay written about To Kill a Mockingbird. Students were asked to analyze the theme of courage and to select 3 characters from the novel that they felt really demonstrated courage in the face of adversity. So here's the thesis statement for that essay. It reads, in Harper Lee's novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus, Scout, and Miss Dubose demonstrate courage in the face of adversity. So I have Harper Lee, she's our author, I have her complete name. To Kill a Mockingbird is the title of the text, and because it's a book or a novel, I have it italicized. It's very important that you italicize the title of a book or a novel when you're typing. And then this is clearly an essay on the theme of courage, but I've identified my 3 main points, which are the 3 characters I'm going to talk about, 1 character per body paragraph. So my reader knows that my first body paragraph is going to be all about Atticus and how Atticus demonstrated courage in the face of adversity. My second body paragraph will be all about Scout and how she demonstrates courage. And my third body paragraph will be all about Miss Dubose's courage. So you have a sense for how you can kind of wrap all of those elements in a really clear, clean statement. The second example is from Maya Angelou's early autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And it was an essay that asked students to really analyze her identity and select 3 events from her life that were covered in the early autobiography, and to analyze how those events shaped Angelou's identity and really helped her to understand why the caged bird sings. So this example thesis statement reads, in Maya Angelou's early autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, her identity is shaped by the constant movement between homes, sexual abuse, and teenage pregnancy. So I have the author's full name, Maya Angelou. I have the title of the text, her nonfiction autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, italicized. This is all about the theme of identity. And then I have the 3 main points. So the first paragraph is going to be about how she was moved between homes. The second one's going to be about sexual abuse. And the third one's about teenage pregnancy. And I'm going to spend the paragraphs analyzing how these moments shaped her identity. So now that you have a sense of, okay, why are these statements important? What needs to go in them? What do example thesis statements look like? It's also important to just make sure you know how long they should be and where they should be in your essay. So your thesis statement should be 1 sentence. You don't want your thesis statement to go on for multiple sentences. It's 1 sentence. It's the last line of your introduction paragraph. The reason you put it at the end of your introduction paragraph is it serves as a really wonderful transition between your hook strategy, which is there to grab your reader's attention and pique their interest, and then it transitions from that into the first body paragraph. So it's important that you not start your introduction with a thesis, but instead end with the thesis statement. And if you're not sure how to write a hook strategy, I have another video on that. So your thesis statement is the last line of your introduction paragraph. It should be approximately 25 words or less. That's what you want to shoot for. If it goes a little over and you've made it as clear and concise as you can, that's okay. But you want to shoot for 25 words. A lot of students, because there's quite a bit of information that needs to go in the thesis, a lot of students really struggle with keeping it concise. Their thesis statements end up very long, and the longer it is, it can kind of lose steam. It can lose some power if it's overly long. So you want to keep it clear, concise, and powerful, because as I said, your thesis statement is the most important sentence of your essay.
The teacher in the previous slide was speaking about thesis statements in general. You'll have to refine the definition for your own writing on Macbeth. Some tips to consider, to remember in your writing. Please don't use the personal pronoun I. You do not start a thesis statement with I believe or in my opinion. You do not announce your topic. Many of you do this. I'm not sure if it's allowed in other subjects. It certainly isn't allowed in English. So you don't write, in this essay I will be discussing Macbeth's ambition. And make sure that your thesis statement is not just a statement of fact. It would be inadequate to write, the play Macbeth is enjoyable, full stop. That would not be considered a thesis statement. Let's move on to the writing of body paragraphs. The body paragraphs support your argument in paragraph 1, the introduction. Each paragraph should contain a separate point, and each paragraph needs a topic sentence. In a P paragraph, that would be the P for point. You would then elaborate, explain the point by providing evidence, quotations, and each of these is linked to that argument that you put forward in your introduction. The topic sentence of your paragraph is usually the first one. Think of it as a label. It tells the reader what that paragraph will be about. A good topic sentence will consist of a single statement, which conveys the main idea of the paragraph. Keep the statement as short as possible, be concise. This is not the time to get creative. Do not confuse topic sentences with thesis statements. A topic sentence is at the beginning of a body paragraph, and it tells you what that paragraph will be about. It doesn't need to present an argument. A thesis statement, however, is that sentence at the end of your introduction, and it tells you the main idea of the essay, and it can be quite provocative. It can spark conversation and debate. We've looked at the structure of good topic sentences. Let's pause a moment at poor topic sentences. These are vague. They include facts and quotes. They include information that has already been stated in other paragraphs. They're very general, and they can even include phrases like, this paragraph will be about, or in this paragraph I will write about. Both of those are absolute no-nos in topic sentences. To illustrate good and bad topic sentences, let's move for a moment outside the world of literature. Imagine that your essay topic reads, think of an invention that has completely transformed society. In an informative essay, identify the invention and explain how it has positively or negatively affected society. And you have decided that traffic lights are the invention that you would like to write about. A poor topic sentence would read, the traffic light is a great invention. Another example of a poor topic sentence is, in this paragraph, I'm going to discuss one reason why the invention of the traffic light is a good invention. You can just hear that that's not good writing. A good topic sentence on this topic is, the traffic light is one of society's most efficient inventions because it helps manage traffic and conserve fuel. There's far more meat to that. You have an idea as a reader of the direction in which this essay is going to go. You see the difference? The same principles apply to literature essays. In a P paragraph, a body paragraph, you need to explain how your evidence proves your point. It's very important that you use your own words to explain how very often it is your quote, that is your evidence, is linked to that topic sentence, that point that you would like to prove. One body paragraph must follow logically after the previous body paragraph, and you do this by transitioning your paragraphs. You logically link one topic to another, and you inform the reader using transition words that you have additional points to make. and that then leads you into the next body paragraph. Words such as furthermore or however can be used here, but it is important that you signpost your essay, that the reader knows that there is something more to come. The fifth and final paragraph of your essay is your conclusion. Now, what makes a good conclusion? Those of you who do debating will be familiar with the structure of literature essay conclusions. You must summarize the points that you made in your preceding paragraphs. You restate your argument without ever giving new ideas or new information. And you ensure that your reader is left in no doubt as to what your point of view is. In the concluding paragraph, it's important that you restate the essay's topic. So if the essay topic was, "Is Macbeth's tragic flaw his ambition?" it's important for you to state either, yes, Macbeth's downfall is caused by his ambition, or Macbeth's downfall cannot be blamed on his ambition as there were too many other factors that influenced his actions. Please don't begin your conclusion with "in conclusion" or "in summary," and definitely not "all in all." You also need to restate your thesis. You can change some of the wording, but you keep the basic idea. This is not the time to introduce new information into your essay. Many times when I'm marking exam papers, I get the idea that you've had an absolute brainstorm in the last moments of your essay writing, and you try and shove in as much new information as possible at the end. This smacks of bad planning. Don't do it. A thought-provoking essay usually ends with a final thought that stays with the reader for some time afterwards. Try and get that right. Here's that image again. Your blueprint for writing a literature essay. Consider it a recipe. 5 paragraphs. The first one, an introduction with a thesis statement. 3 body paragraphs, each one with its own topic sentence, and each paragraph with its own separate information. A conclusion in which the thesis statement is restated. If you do that, you'll get good marks for structure, even if the content isn't as good as you would like it to be. We've looked at the structure of the essay. Let's pause now to look at how you should write it. Always use the present tense. Macbeth is the King of Scotland, not Macbeth was the King of Scotland. Explain your points clearly. Do not get creative. No drama, please. Shakespeare's already done that. Do not use personal pronouns. There must be no "I think that" or "in my opinion." Use examples from the text. That's how you show the examiner that you are fully conversant with the content of the text. And please use quotes to support your evidence. You may paraphrase them, but I do advise that you do memorize some of the key quotes from the play. Ideally, you should vary your sentence types and lengths, but many of you are so good at those run-on lengthy sentences that my advice is actually KISS. Remember that acronym? Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it short, keep it concise. It means you make fewer errors. It is important that your paragraphs flow smoothly from one to the other. And we do that by using linking words, transition words. So you should be using however, because, therefore. There's quite a list of them that one can use. So remember, a smooth flow of argument through the essay. Remember that literature essays are academic, so your tone is important. The language, the diction must be formal. Avoid contractions, no can'ts and won'ts and shouldn'ts. Do not use rhetorical questions. Do not use ellipsis for dramatic effect. And make sure that your facts are correct. You must know that it's Malcolm, for example, who was appointed by Duncan to be his heir, his successor, not Donalbain. It's little details like that that show the examiner whether you truly understand and know the text or not. Quoting from the text is crucial when writing literature essays. You have to embed some references, close references to the text. Please don't quote huge chunks of the text. This is very tempting, especially if you have an open book task or exam to write. Don't do that. You may use ellipsis, those 3 dots, to show where you have left out some words from the original text. But embed the quotes in such a way that your sentences still read smoothly, that the quotes, which are indicated with quotation marks, become part of your own sentences. Well, that's it for the first lesson. It's a lot of information. Tomorrow you're going to get your essay topic and you're going to look at how to plan writing a literature essay. So until tomorrow, make sure your notes are up to date and have a good rest. Bye-bye. It's the second of 4 lessons on how to write a literature essay. Today we're going to look at planning the essay. Yes, you actually have to plan. The number of you who, after you have written your essay, quickly scribble a mind map of sorts or words on a page to staple to the essay is criminal. Guys, let's get this right. Plan the essay before you write it. The secret to good marks for essays is in the planning. I cannot stress that enough. It doesn't matter what technique you use, a mind map, a skeleton structure, a flow diagram, whatever works for you is fine. But you've got to figure out the method that suits your writing the best. I think all of you are familiar with the traditional mind map, the one that you see on the left, where you can do bubbles and little drawings, etc. But not everybody's brain works in that way. I tend to work in a more linear fashion, so the fishbone skeleton method is the one that I tend to go for. That's at the bottom, the one that is given to you for gender in Macbeth. But others can write in blocks, such as the one on the right, which gives you Freytag's plot structure, the pyramid of the storyline of Macbeth. Again, whatever works, that's what you use. So how do you get an A for a literature essay? It is possible, I promise you. Firstly, obviously, you have to read and understand the text. I'll repeat that. You have to read the text. You have to understand the text. Then you have to look at the question and analyze exactly what is being asked. And then that dirty word, you have to plan thoroughly. And in the writing of the essay, you have to be disciplined enough to stick to that plan. You must control the writing. The writing must not control you. So how do you read and understand the text? It's actually not as difficult as it appears. You've got to be disciplined. Keep up with the reading pace. It's so easy to say, oh, I won't do that chapter today, I'll do it tomorrow. You won't. Self-discipline is the key. Pay attention in class or to these YouTube lessons. Most of the A candidates will tell you that the majority of their studying is actually done in the classroom. Participate in all discussions. Form a study group with classmates. You'll find your own voice as you debate issues and topics related to the text. Yep, when it's crunch time, that 911 moment, there is Schmoop, Cliff's Notes, Spark Notes, Thug Notes available on the internet and online. Use them, but only if you're absolutely desperate. They cannot take the place of your own reading and your own thinking of the text. You're in the exam room. You've been given your essay question. How do you analyze and address that question? Well, the clues are actually in the question itself. Let's imagine that this is the question in your exam. If Macbeth had not been so weak and easily influenced, he would never have murdered King Duncan. Do you agree with this statement? Use specific examples from the first 3 acts of the play to substantiate your opinion. That's a typical essay question structure. And much of what you need to write is already given to you in the wording of this question. I recommend that you have a highlighter or a different colored pen so that you can circle or highlight the key words in the question. Here I have circled some words. If Macbeth had not been so weak, so there's something to think about. Is Macbeth weak? Was he easily influenced? Now, if he wasn't weak and easily influenced, says the statement, he would never have murdered King Duncan. Do you agree? And remember, I've said don't sit on the fence. Yes or no. Make your decision. And then, because you've only read the first 3 acts of the play, find specific examples from the first 3 acts that will help you to prove your point of view. So the examiner wants you to give an analysis of Macbeth's character. You have to argue whether he is or is not weak and easily influenced. It doesn't matter if you say yes or no. What matters is the quality of your argument. You will then discuss how his personality influenced his actions. And of course, we're looking specifically at the murder of King Duncan. You will have to give evidence from the text, and if you have memorized some short quotes, so much the better. And then you will tie all of that together in a good conclusion and deliver your proof. That doesn't seem so difficult, does it? Well, as you know, you're going to be writing your own essay. And here's your question. It's a variation of the one that was used as an example in the previous slides. Your question is, discuss the influence of the witch's prophecies on Macbeth's decisions to murder Duncan and to have Banquo killed. In a well-constructed essay of 300 to 350 words, approximately 1.5 pages, critically discuss this statement. So there you have it. That's going to be your formative assessment, your practice run for the final exam. On this slide, you have the wording as it will appear in your exam paper. I write, please note, the length of your response must be approximately 300 to 350 words. Your knowledge of Shakespeare's text Macbeth and your ability to structure and substantiate your stance in order to develop a tightly constructed argument will be assessed. Close and relevant reference to the play is essential. Please be aware that you will be penalized should your essay be longer than 350 words. Please provide an accurate word count in pen at the end of your essay. Grade 10s, this is word for word, the wording from the IEB Paper 2 exam question paper. So it will be repeated with every Paper 2 that you write from now to your final matric exam. Study it. Get used to it, and put into practice what is required. Your essays will be marked using the IEB rubric for mini essays. You have access to the entire SAGS document on Edmodo, but I have copied and pasted here the top level, the exceptional elevated level for a mini essay. And this is what you're all aiming for, a level 7 plus. So I challenge you, let's get there by the end of the year. Today you're doing the planning for your essay. Remember, you need 5 paragraphs, the introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Remember everything that we did yesterday. If you need to, go back on the video and re-watch, re-listen to some of the information. Here's that template again. It is copied onto the lesson plan, which you should download from Edmodo as well. And it's a good thing to keep with you in your English file as a reminder of how your essay should be structured. Here's your essay question again. I have underlined key words, highlighted them for you. Remember, you are discussing the influence of the witch's prophecies on Macbeth's decisions to murder Duncan and to have Banquo killed. So each of those things needs to be addressed, covered in some way in your essay. You need to brainstorm, put down all your ideas in a way that suits you. We've had a look at different methods, the traditional mind map, a skeleton diagram, a block form, whatever works. That's what you should do. By the end of today's lesson, you should have a piece of paper that looks something like this, depending on the format that you use, of course. So a whole lot of information put down. You can color code it, do whatever it takes to make it seem logical to you. And by the end of today, you must have figured out what your 5 paragraphs will consist of. Don't worry if there is stuff that you have written that you're not going to use at all. That's quite normal. But by the end of today's lesson, you must have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Not perfectly written, but you must know the content of that. So get that done, and you'll be ready for tomorrow. Goodbye. Today is lesson 3, the third of 4 lessons. You're going to take all of that planning that you wrote down yesterday for the essay topic, and you're going to write your draft essay. I suggest that you do this on lined paper. It's not your final one that you will put into your notebook tomorrow in lesson 4. I hope the repetition of slides is having the desired effect. Here's a reminder. 5 paragraphs, an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. You need a good thesis statement. You need to work on those topic sentences for the body paragraphs. And you have to restate the thesis and have a final comment in your concluding paragraph. In your junior years, we always spoke about P paragraphs, point, evidence, explain. But sometimes it's better to think of peel with that added L. Make your point, explain the point, give an example, in other words, a quote which you embed into the paragraph, and then link it to the question or to the following paragraph. Keep this guideline next to you as you write. It's your recipe. Remember, discipline is the key. Introduction, 3 paragraphs, conclusion. You can do this. What are you waiting for, grade 10s? It's time. Get writing. Make sure that you have a draft essay, those 5 paragraphs completed before tomorrow's lesson. Remember, it's rough, it doesn't have to be neat, and it shouldn't be in your notebook yet. We're almost there. It's the final lesson of the week. You should have on rough paper your draft essay. You now need to take another colored pen and to go through it very, very carefully. Make sure that it's factually correct, that the content makes sense, and also check for spelling and other grammar errors. Remember, when you're referring to the character Macbeth, you just write his name normally, capital M of course, but if you are referring to the title of the play, then you either underline it or put it in quotation marks, inverted commas. It's a painstaking exercise, but this is the key. Make sure that everything is 100% correct. I know it's boring. I know it takes time, but it is worth it. The result of all this hard work, I hope, will be that level 7, that A+ for your essay. Grade 10s, by the end of today's lesson, your neat essay should be written into your Macbeth notebook. It should certainly not be more than 2 pages in length, on average 1.5 pages. I will be taking in your books after lockdown, and I will be reading through these essays to make sure that you're on track for the end of the year. The fact that it's a formative, not a summative assessment should not make any difference to you. I hope that you've paid attention through this sort of long week of literature writing training. It's something that you're going to have to do over and over again until you write your final matric exams. Put in the effort, guys. Get that A+. Give yourself that advantage. That's it for this week, folks. If you're unsure, if you need help, especially with the writing of the literature essay, please reach out and ask me questions. I'd be more than happy to help you. Until next week, keep washing your hands. Goodbye, everyone.